Well, hello, that's me again. Today is April the 3rd, 2025. It is Thursday, and we're one day from Friday. And allow me to start this with a strange thing. And you probably remember I actually mentioned the passing of David Lynch, whom I consider to be one of the greatest directors and artists of our time, if not all the time, of all time. And obviously, the best thing he ever created was the Twin Peaks. And as much as I loved Twin Peaks, especially first season, but the third season was a knockout. It was something in the television history which will never be repeated. It is absolute work of a genius. And obviously, my favorite, Paul Atreides, pardon me, Agent Cooper, Kyle MacLachlan is there. It's something outstanding. It's something beyond sometimes, the regular limits of our, artistic experiences. But I want to show you something, and this is actually what drives the whole thing today. If you remember this moment, I believe it was in the first part, season, episode 2, at season 3, when an evil twin of Agent Cooper, Mr.C, he talks to one of the guys who, sitting in the diner and he being obviously, you can see he oozes the evil there. He tells the guy who owns the coordinates, essentially, where he can return to his Black Lodge or whatever the hell the lodge is there. And he says that, Ray, I don't need anything. I want it, Ray. Well, we have today, when we look actually at the actions of Trump administration, we need to flip it exactly 180 degrees or 360 degrees per Annalena Baerbock's geometry and say that Mr. Trump, he doesn't want it. He needs it, everything what is happening around him. And he is in this sense Mr. C. In a sense, but Mr. C was an ultimate evil, essentially. So Mr. Trump is not ultimate evil, but he is still primarily remains the Mr. Trump, which is the New York real estate, well, shyster, let's put it this way. So anyhow, and because of that, we have now what is shaping to be the trade war. And let's go and take a look what this trade war is all about. And we'll start with Mr. Bessonette. Mr. Bessonette, that's the Treasury Secretary, and Mr. Trump, just announced, and you can easily find the list of those countries. And Secretary Scott Bessonette has urged American trading partners not to retaliate against Washington's new import taxes. Well, some will not, others will, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see, and we have to understand why Trump is doing this. I will reflect on this in a minute. So, Mr. Bessonette says, my advice to every country right now is do not retaliate, Bessonette said. Sit back, take it in, and let's see how it goes. And so this is RT actually. Trump has framed his Liberation Day, tariffs as a way to restore balance to global trade. He has long accused foreign countries of abusing the openness of the US markets and ripping off the American people. And the reason it is highlighted in yellow is next. Actually, it's not about ripping off the American people. It's actually making a life of American people relatively affordable. And for decades now, we have to keep in mind the main reason, or the main product which United States could sell to the outside world, apart from at that time obviously much better constructed Boeing aircraft, was of course the access to the American market, which was rich, it could buy a lot, and as the result, it became one of the main tools of the influence on all kinds of the manufacturers around the world, and obviously, especially economies which are export-oriented, such as the economy of Germany, for example, which is a heavily export-oriented, or for that matter, China. So, here's Mr. Bessonette, talks about that this was abused. Actually, it wasn't abused. It was just merely providing the decent standard of living for American people, allowing them, well, basically consumption which is, well, above average, to put it mildly. And that was the thing which constituted the American, well, proverbial standard of living, which is obviously declining. But then again, we live in the America of Walmarts and in Costco's. Okay. So, and here are the countries which reciprocal tariffs include: China, 34%, okay, India 26, Japan 24, South Korea 25, South Africa 30 for political reasons, and Trump also imposed 20% duties on EU goods and calling the bloc members very tough traders. Well, so why is he doing this? Well, keep in mind what we are dealing with here. United States is unsolvable, actually, when you consider the fact of the 34 plus trillion dollar national debt, which it's immense financial burden. And of course, everybody who has whatever the remnants of the brain, they understand that United States never pays it back. It's just simple as that. So what's left? Well, what's left is you have to have some kind of the exhaust, if you wish, or release of the steam, financial, to well, to prolong America's economic decline, but in such a way that it's not does not create catastrophe. Remarkably, very many people in very many countries in the world, such as Russia, China, India, and others, they are not interested in the United States collapsing, because obviously, as with any big bada boom, there are fragments of this bada boom, they will hurt everybody else. Well, except for Russia, and say, oh yeah, you being Russian, you're pushing this Russian propaganda, Kremlin. Okay, so, well, let's deal with the Russian propaganda, okay? And here's the Russian propaganda against the background of this thing, which probably gonna result in the trade war. Maybe not, I don't know. But the fact is, no matter what Trump does in this respect, in this economic respect, it's not going to create a full onshore flow for reindustrialization of the United States, because it has to be done completely from the inside for the United States, especially considering the fact that, at least for now, it can continue to print things, but it's at the edge of it, it's at the end, essentially, of being able to print any kind of money, because otherwise it was just gonna kill the economy. But that's his attempt, and as I already stated, I'm not the guy who is, coming here rushing saying, oh yeah, it's gonna create the trade war. It probably will, but we'll see. And so, speaking about Russia, Mr. Bessonnet, well, he's not a bright fellow, let me put it this way. And bright fellows are not welcome in any kind of the American administration, and suddenly White House explains Russia's absence from the tariffs list. Well, okay, so yeah, and he is actually correct in half of it. So he says that U.S. does not trade meaningfully with these countries which are not on the tariffs list, which is Russia, Belarus, Cuba, and North Korea. In Russia's case, he emphasized that the sanctions are already doing the work that tariffs would. Absolutely, I agree with him. It's just that the guy has no clue what he's talking about, because, being, half and puff, trying to spin yourself as the greatest thing ever in American political culture is the normal thing. But yes, they are doing the work. Russians are completely becoming independent from the United States. And if we take a look at, not only United States, combined West, let's take a look at Russian-American trade today. As you can see, this is for 2024, I believe. 2023, 2024. So it's Office of the United States Trade Representative, Executive Officer of the President. So with Russia, yes, total goods trade with Russia were an estimated $3.5 billion. What is $3.5 billion in 2024 in trade? Let me tell you what it is. It's a pocket change. For Russia, it's a pocket change, and so is for the United States. But while United States shot itself in the in the foot, and what can I say? if they think that they somehow hurting Russia, I have a bridge to sell to anybody who believes that. And that is a separate issue altogether, which needs to be discussed, because we are looking at something which is absolutely alternative or parallel universe in Washington, D.C. in terms of what they are trying to do and convince somebody that they are great and they can, manipulate people. Well, they can manipulate and can force some countries, but certainly not Russia. And as you saw yourself, it is a pocket change. There is nothing really going on there. So if you take a look at today's Russia's trade partners for 24, you can see yourself. It's official data from Moscow. It's this January, so it's fresh for 2024. The main trading partners of Russia at the end of 2024 were China, India, and Turkey. And so here is the basically spread. China's share in Russia trade turnover in January-October 2024 amounted to 33.8%. It's more than one-third, a huge percentage. India 8.8, Turkey 8.3, Belarus, Kazakhstan, South Korea, Germany. Germany somehow is trying to trade with Russia. It's 1.8%. It's minuscule. Armenia is the same. Italy somehow ended up being the trading partner, but you know what? They can try to completely reduce it to zero for all Russians care. And but as you can see yourself, there is not a single so to speak, major country which drive this insanity in terms of the special military operation, not from the Russian side, and essentially the military and political adventurism on part of the combined West in Ukraine. And yeah, neither UK nor France are even registered on this list, and it's good that they do not. So it's better stay this way. So when you look at this and you ask yourself a question, what is the country capable today of almost complete autarky or exist without the West? It's Russia. It's all objective indices and all objective data is there to prove it, and it is happening. And when Mr. Besson tries to say that the tariffs do the job, he obviously has very little understanding what he is talking about. But again, as I already stated, Mr. Trump doesn't want it, he needs it, because he thinks that he is the savior of the United States. So far, it's a mixed bag. Some steps of his on the domestic agenda could be applauded, but the rest of it is just, it's, Trump throwing tantrum, essentially. He still buys into this, trade orthodoxy, if you wish, not understanding that American prosperity, or at least the vision or image of prosperity has been built precisely because United States was opening its market to all those countries which are heavily dependent on exporting things to American market. And the question now is, and allegedly, I don't believe those polls, but they at least can give us some trend, is that Reuters poll and some other poll, there are all kinds of the shyster organizations which do the polling, evidently, Trump's approval rating dropped to 43%. Well, may not necessarily 43%, but I do believe that, eventually it's gonna affect his performance ratings, if you wish, significantly, especially as he basically warned Americans to kind of, tighten their belts, and that things will get rough. They will get rough, there's no doubt about it, and Americans will become poor. Another matter that he says it will be for a little while. Well, it's not going to be for a little while. United States will not recover prosperity unless we're talking about some very narrow strata of the financial shysters who profiteer from or profit from all kinds of the financial legerdemain. Most people will lose jobs, they will get poor, they will get, and God forbids, if Mr. Trump decides to attack Iran, which of course we can discuss it whatever we can until the hell freezes over. But I would suggest you to go and to my good friend Larry Johnson's blog and read his excellent write-up on the probability, if you wish, of Trump administration attacking Iran. There is a technical also factor behind all that, or technological, if you wish, which is worth discussing, but not today. And so, returning back to this, Mr.C or Twin Peaks, the return, that Mr. Trump doesn't want it. He needs it. Well, he needs it. United States needs something to be done about what is happening, but obviously it's not going to be easy on Americans. And as I already stated, while I definitely hate make any kind of the prognostications and forecasts about that the standard of living will roll down the hill, it will roll down the hill, but I don't see and I don't think it will recover. It will stay at some kind of the reset value, which inevitable, United States essentially was, well, parasiting, being parasitic on the world economy for too long. And as a result, we have other things which are happening here, and especially speaking about Iran. Well, it's British, okay? That's Telegraph, and what can you say? But they make the news out of nothing, really. So look at this. But guess what? These are the news which then propagated around the world, and they reprint everything, and they try to run people into the basically hysterical state of mind. And Trump gives instructions for Iran to be obliterated if he is assassinated. Okay. US President Donald Trump said there won't be anything left of Iran if officials order his assassination. Okay. The question is, why would Iranian officials order his assassination? I don't know. It's just the whole thing to create some kind of the news, because I don't think that Iranian officials ordered anything in terms of assassination of Trump. He has too many enemies to be, aware of, to fear, actually, within the United States and from the Iranian officials. But hey, and so President Donald Trump said he's giving the advisors instructions to obliterate Iran if it assassinates him. If they did that, they would be obliterated. I don't know. Well, considering the level of the American intel, and Tulsi Gabbard is merely 2 months now at her job, and considering the declassifying of the JFK files, who knows? It's absolutely bizarre. I find myself sometimes getting ready to pinch myself just to say that, am I dreaming? Because this is so insane. And this is actually the feedback system. This is over amplification of the signal, which goes the same circle, or the same circuit, if you wish, over and over again until it amplifies to such a degree that it becomes a complete distortion. Well, that's, by the way, how the rock and roll or hard rock was born, if you remember Satisfaction by Rolling Stones. That's what it is, over amplification, distortion. And that we begin to lose complete sight of what is happening. But what is happening is this. So I don't know, and again, make no mistake, the journalism so-called profession, it's not really profession. It's not even craft. It's something people with average IQ and basic knowledge of the language can do. And so we have this. And they report on that. Why they do report on that? Because they have nothing better to report about. And so, here it is. Ukraine conflict of precipice of ceasefire, Trump envoy. And so the Trump envoy, Mr. Kellogg, saying that, speaking to Fox, again, I really believe, here it is. You see, there's immediately discrepancy. This is RT. This is what they do. They already they are already falling basically to the level of very many other Western media that, it's not on precipice of ceasefire. It's what Mr. Kellogg believes. And Mr. Kellogg is not in the circle of people who communicate between Russia and the United States. Simple as that. But he really believes we are on the precipice of getting to a ceasefire, he said. Neither side is going to get everything they want, Mr. Kellogg says. What we want to have is a comprehensive 30-day ceasefire. What is comprehensive 30-day ceasefire? I don't think so. This former U.S. general, American general, being American general, has any clue what he's talking about. Once you get there, it's going to be really hard to restart the war. No, it will not. But I mean, again, Mr. Kellogg is American general who never won anything in his life. He has been on the losing team all his life. And he doesn't have even proper understanding of the modern warfare. He is 80 years old. It's time to retire. But because he is tough talking neocon and warmonger, he naturally ended up initially on Trump's team of the negotiators. Russians stated, they said, the hell with him, we're not even talking to him. So, and he said, what we need is what I would call them shits. This is what the Russians want. No, they don't. This is what the Ukrainians want, and bring them together. So, yeah, the guy is, I don't know why they do not report on him having a bubble movement. So, like, he is, Mr. Kellogg isn't on the bubble, on the precipice of the bubble movement. But the point is, this is what is called the news fodder. They look for something to report. They need something dramatic. They create this garbage title and headline. And guess what? Mr. Kellogg, he believes it. Well, he can believe whatever he wants, but I can tell you this thing. The guy is out of his league. He doesn't understand what he's dealing with, especially militarily. He has no clue. And yet, here we are, he reports, he talks to everybody, he spreads his beliefs, which are highly unprofessional, because you would expect this from the American general, especially who is 80 years old, who went through Vietnam, lost it there, probably, I don't know what is happening to him, and then he goes around, especially in the so-called, it's not conservative, Fox News, and he spreads this BS saying that, well, yeah, we have this thing, I believe we're gonna get ceasefire. Russians are already ad nauseam on the record, and I will quote Mr. Putin, I will quote Mr. Lavrov, I will quote Mr. Medvedev, until the root causes of the conflict, which is, of course, NATO expansion and turning Ukraine into this military ram against Russia, are removed, there will be no ceasefire, period. There will be none. And whatever Mr. Kellogg says, who's not even allowed inside the rooms with negotiation between Russians and Americans, and especially with Trump being pissed off at Putin because obviously Russians never change the position. That's the position. Take it or leave it. But they need to create some kind of the informational background, and they need to sell crap to people to keep them, worried. And as you saw yourself, like Mr. Trump say, oh, if they assassinate me. Yeah, of course there are, for example, people, and there are the whole strata of the Washington society, like neocons, Israeli forces, who would love to frame Iranians if something happens to Mr. Trump. The game is already afoot here, but what can I say? I mean, United States also is in a bipolar mental state, and we just have to, wait and see what is happening. However, for Mr. Kellogg, if he doesn't understand what he is dealing with, and again, let me show you something. This is today's Armed Forces of Ukraine losses. As you can see yourself, the slaughter continues. I deliberately underlined in red here on the top, 138 another UAVs they launch all over the place at Russia, mostly at the civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and the apartment blocks. They are really good at it, hitting apartment blocks. These are all NATO guys. This is not just Armed Forces of Ukraine. This is Pentagon and all those NATO officers and planners planning this. And they, of course, then pretend that they cannot control them. Oh, yes, they control them and command them. So, but that's what we have. And so for those who want to see, oh my gosh, this very, very interesting development at Kursk, as you can see yourself, it's not at Kursk anymore. Kursk is done. In red, if you see this broken white line, this are the state border between Russia and Ukraine. Russians already deep into their Ukrainian territory, in this particular case into the Sumy region. They are about, as you can see yourself, they took the Basavka, they are in Belavode, so there is a Platzdam, so to speak, stronghold is forming, from which they will be launched at Yunakovka and then along the roads to Sumy. And Sumy has been, under the incessant bombardment, well, let's put it this way, long-range fires, and a lot of things have been blown up there in terms of the ammunition depots and assembly areas of the whatever is remaining in the troops there. And now there is a very interesting information which I have to share with you. It's in the Russian news. It's all over the place, officially reported, that actually there are some of the so-called volunteers. They were paid, volunteers for the armed forces of Ukraine and NATO, and others from not NATO, the countries which have been, say, some volunteers from Latin America, they have been paid like $30,000 just to go to Kursk. The French or Portuguese, for example, which have been annihilated, today was the whole batch of Portuguese volunteers burned alive by, it's just the way it is, which is called the remote flamethrower. They were paying even more than 30,000, evidently a month, I think that's what it was. So anyhow, they're huge money. And the remnants of the pockets of the armed forces of Ukraine, which still remain in some shell-shocked, state around Kursk, are told not to surrender by command, by the so-called Ukrainian command. It's of course not Ukrainian command. And if they don't want to surrender, they will be killed. Simple as that. But you saw yourself what is happening. So when Mr. Kellogg begins to, explain his fantasies that he believes into something, he better look at the map and he better look at the spreadsheet in terms of the, combat data. Some of it is available, and actually Russians are not hiding it. So, but what can I say? It is, it's the same as discussing with people some things which are not in the wide circulation, but something like that. And space news suddenly today says Russia, China target SpaceX Starlink in escalating space electronic warfare. What many people do not understand, Starlink is the communication system essentially. And some people, for example, some Russians, Russian soldiers, Russian military people, buy them terminals for Starlink when they are not far from the line of the combat contact, just to have better, fast internet and things of this nature. And of course, Starlink was used extensively for the what is called C4, command control computers communications. This is what they use in NATO to control armed forces of Ukraine. So, but they know that, oh my God, there are issues with this. Well, of course there are issues with this, and Russians didn't even present all of their capabilities in this respect. And so they talk about this modern warfare becomes increasingly reliant on space-based networks. Russia and China are stepping up efforts to counter the dominance of commercial satellite constellations, particularly SpaceX Starlink. Well, yeah, sure. Russians have their own thing coming up already. It's called the program Sphere. It's on the 300 satellites. So, and yeah, they also will provide, and some of them are already providing the fast-speed internet. But the point is, they know that Ukrainian military units began experiencing Starlink outages in May 2024, which Ukrainian officials attribute to Russia's testing different mechanisms with its electronic warfare systems, the report says. The analysis highlighted two key Russian systems, Tabol and Kalinka. Originally designed to protect Russian satellites from jamming, the Tabol system has been repurposed to disrupt satellite communications and navigation systems like GPS. At least 7 Tabol complexes have been distributed across Russian territory, and so the leaked, well, yeah, they are always leaked. US military documents suggest Russia has deployed at least 3 installations specifically to target Starlink signals over eastern Ukraine. Yeah, absolutely. And if you go back in time, back to 2015, none other than Ben Hodges already then stated that Russian electronic warfare capabilities are, tear-inducing, essentially, eye-watering. And I quoted, eye-watering, that's what he stated. Well, since then, they improved dramatically. And the question is that, yeah, if you want to fight modern war, you have to have outstanding electronic warfare capability. Russians do have it. Remember, they also have the ground-based, I mean, highly mobile. They are on the Tiger automobiles, military automobiles. It's called Bolshevik. It can detect with the range of 10 kilometers any kind of the Starlink terminal, and then things fly into this terminal, and that's it. But as the slogan at the former, now it's, well, it's still not former, it's still the same, what is called the academy, which is actually war college. It's 2-year long study for the officers to get their actually PhDs. As the slogan on the building says, and inside when you step into the communications war college in Russia, it says that the loss of the communications is the loss of the combat control. And this is absolutely true. And Russians have all means to have this combat control interrupted. And, well, many of those means are not being tested yet. And they are there. I know this for sure. And if need be, God forbids, anything big begins to happen, they will be employed completely. So, and this is what I wanted to tell you guys today about all that. And this is kind of sit rep, if you wish. And so for those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee too. That will allow me to continue to do what I am doing. So, what can I say, guys? Have the nice rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.